I've gotten myself organized now to load this Winchester silver tips. I'm using 231, and I'm pulling my data from an older Winchester book here from 1999. And I want to point something out. If you look at that load data, there's no cartridge overall length listed. You've got the grain weight of the projectile, minimum and maximum. They give you pressures and velocity, but they're not telling you the cartridge overall length. That's where having a lot of other books comes into play, because you can pull the length for a jacketed hollow point. I'm going with 1.125 because that's what I settled on. So if you're brand new, let me walk through you here with the die setup. This is very simple. You're going to start with the sizing die. Now, make certain that that pin is protruding roughly a 1/4 inch or maybe a little more beneath the bottom of the die. It needs to be sticking out enough to knock out the old primer. So the way we set that up is I've got a shell holder here in the ram. I run that all the way up, and I'm going to screw this down until I make contact with the shell holder, right? And I'm going to set my lock ring right there. Now I'm going to take a case, and I'm going to size that casing. Now if I wanted, I can grab a case gauge and drop it in there and make sure I've got no issues, that it's going to be good to go. But I size a casing because when I go to my next step here, which is going to be the expander, I'm going to open up the mouth of the casing just enough to accept a projectile. Because if I try and put that in there right now, right, it's not going to go because the mouth of the casing got squeezed down too much. So I need to open that back up, but just to the point where I can get the projectile to seat. Now this is going to be a trial and error type of affair. I start it, I run it down. Now I'm screwing this down and I'm getting resistance, so I know it's going over the expander at this point. So I'm going to lower it. I'm going to grab one of the bullets I'm going to load. Okay, and it's just barely starting to open it up. So I need to keep going here, run it down some more, run it back up, and I'm going to try it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep doing this until just to the point where I've got the mouth of that casing opened up just enough to accept the projectile, and I'm going to stop right there. I don't want to take that any further than I need to. Don't overwork your brass. Okay, so that's starting to fit right there, barely. So I should probably go a little bit more with that. You can go in 1/4 turn increments if you like. You can do a little more, a little less. When you're brand new, go less. Creep up on it, and you're going to learn more. Or you can go further. Go 1/4 turn or more, and you'll wreck a couple casings, and you'll learn that way too. Okay, it's just starting to fit. Now, if I could open this up a little bit more, but I'm probably working my brass more than I really need to. And if you open it up too much, the projectile, when you push it on there, it's going to tip. So you want it sitting pretty straight up and down. So you don't want to over flare the brass. So let's just make sure my lock ring is okay there. Now we've got that taken care of. Now we're going to go to the seating operation. Now I'm going to set the projectile on top here. In my seating die now, I can do the same sort of thing. I can take a projectile, put it on top of the case, run it up, and I'm going to screw this down on top of it until I feel some resistance. Now I'm going to back off my micrometer here a little bit. Okay, now I can feel it starting to go in. Now I'm going to be looking for 1.125. I've got my calipers out. I'm using digital, so I need to make sure I'm zeroed. Now, I've already started, as you can see right there, I'm getting close to the cantilever. Now I know that I'm going to be loading somewhere near or on the cantilever. So I'm going to start measuring right now to see where I'm at. 1.174. I'm going with 1.125. So I can turn the body down a little bit more. This is like the macro adjustment, and the micrometer is going to be your micro adjustment. So I'm going to start screwing down the mic, run that up. Now I'm definitely on the cantilever. I was looking for 1.125. See if you can read that. 1.126. That's pretty close. Now, with this micrometer, I can turn that. I've got the hash mark over on this side over here because I'm looking at a camera over here and I'm working from here. So I've got this facing me so I can see it. So I turn this. I can just leave it alone. 1,000th. It's just not going to make any difference. So I'm going to run that back up there. I'm going to double check myself, make sure I didn't mess something up. Oh, look at that. 1.125. Okay, I can live with exactly what I wanted. Now the final step here is I am going to put a light crimp on here. And I don't necessarily have to, but I want to. And what I'm going to do, if you want, you can take a measurement right here. Right there at the mouth. 375. I can reduce that 1,000th and stop right there. And again, I don't necessarily need to do this, but I think I will. But if I'm going to do that, probably need a lock ring. Did you notice that? Okay, so I've got my dummy round in here. I'm going to run this all the way up. And I'm going to screw this down until I feel the resistance. Now this is a taper crimp die. So when I feel the resistance, lower it. I'm going to lower it just a little bit more. And I can feel it just barely going in there. Now I'm still at 375. Run this around a little bit. Now I'm not big on adding a whole lot of crimp. This has got good tension to it already, but I just want to increase that just a little bit. So I'm going to run this up here. And frankly, because a lot of reloading is done by feel, you can't see what's taking place inside of a die, but after you've made 1,000,000 rounds on a single stage or a turret, you get the feel of what you should experience. And it's not necessarily, I'm giving you a number, right? Because you're going to say, well, how do I know? Well, you don't have the feel yet, but after you've done 1,000,000 of them, not 1,000,000, but you get the idea, you're going to have the idea. So we run this up here. Spammers. I get killed by these people all day. I run this up here. I pull it off. Now I can tell you right now, just by the feel, that I'm happy with where it's at right now. But if I've reduced this by 1,000th, I've reduced it 2,000ths. 273. See, I went from spot on 375. I skipped past 374. I went to 2,000. Now I wouldn't want to go more than 3, so I wouldn't be down to 371. 372 in my book is max. 2,000ths of additional tension on the projectile. Fine, that's perfect. Stay right there. At least one, no more than 3, and you're good to go. So if you're brand new, that is how you set up dies. It is that simple. Don't complicate the matter. Just what I showed you, that's all you got to do. Happy trails.